Today, I am joined by Hofstra Professor of Economics and the Director of the Center for Study of Labor and Democracy, Professor Gregory DeFreitas, to discuss student loan debt in the United States. Professor, thank you for making time for me today. I appreciate your expertise on the subject.
Good to chat with you.
Okay, well, let's get right into it. I wanted to talk a little bit about President Joe Biden's plan to relieve $10,000 of student loan debt per borrower. If this were to go into effect today, how would that affect our Long Island community financially?
Well, potentially it could be a big boost given how common student loan debt is. I mean, the latest figures I saw show that about 2/3 of college grads with a BA have some student loan debt. The average is 29,000, over 29,000. And so that hurts a lot because it hurts individuals. It also hurts the broader macro economy because all of those students or the grads, they're so busy paying off their loans, they can't do things like start businesses, right? They can't get married often. So we have a delay in homeownership, a delay in marriage. People, of course, living with their parents much longer than either party probably would like. And that affects the parents, right? Because the parents then are diverting money to the kids. And so anything that could be done to relieve that would be great. The last administration actually made things worse because, for example, with the pandemic policies, you couldn't get a business loan under the PPP program if you had student loan debt that you'd fallen behind on. They made it much harder to get loan forgiveness if you had been defrauded. So like all the burden was shoved on you by Betsy DeVos and the education department. So I think it could be quite a relief. Not enough though. I mean, $10,000 is great. I think most commentators think, most economists think that at least they should try to go up to the median of 29,000, 30,000 to try to have a bigger impact.
Yeah, and if that was to change, if the Democratic legislators were able to push for relieving $50,000 instead of $10,000, like we see Senator Elizabeth Warren and Majority Leader Chuck Schumer are pushing for, how would that change your opinion on that?
No, I think that would be great. I think they need to combine it though with something which happily is in the new the $1.9 trillion stimulus package. Yeah, so it turns out most people don't realize this, but forgiven debt is still taxable. So like if Biden, in the new law that they just passed, I think you have tax forgiveness up to $10,000. So if they get a more ambitious bill through that forgives up to $50,000 in student debt, then they really do need to also make that, exempt from income taxes. Otherwise, a lot of people with big debts who will be happy to have their debt forgiven, they'll be faced with a massive tax bill. So we don't want that. But I think this is a good precedent, the new law that just got passed.
What is the best way, in your professional opinion, to handle the United States' current loan debt balance, which is at $1.6 trillion?
Well, I think in addition to student loan debt, we have to face the fact that we've had pay paralysis for decades now. And young people in particular have really been hurt by the fact that when they get jobs, which of course they want, and they want to pay back their student loans, but the jobs simply don't have a big enough increase in pay. So the cost of a college education has gone up something like 2.5 times since 1980, but the median income of young workers has only gone up about 20%, which is a crazy gap. So one thing that can be done is to try to adopt policies which raise wages. Sadly, Republicans just, to a man and a woman, just blocked a minimum wage increase. There's a great bill in Congress, the PRO Act, which would make it much easier for workers if they want to vote for unions. and unions have a proven record of raising wages and benefits dramatically. So that's something that could be done. And then another thing that really needs to be done, which again, most people don't know about, is that in something like 20 states, nearly half the states, if you fall behind on your student loans, they can take away your lawyer's license. They can take away your license to be a nurse. They can take away your driver's license. So they cripple your income capacity and thus, of course, cripple your ability to pay off student loans. So I think there's lots of things, very promising ideas out there which could make a big dent in the indebtedness problem.
Yeah, and earlier I mentioned Warren and Schumer being publicly supportive of the forgiveness of $50,000 in student loan debt per borrower. Combining that with the fact that both of those two are also publicly in support of $15 minimum wage, and Warren especially pushing for a wealth tax, do you think that combining those things makes people a little bit more apprehensive to agree to $50,000 in loan debt, because adding other things to that makes it seem a little bit more radical, for lack of a better word?
Well, I'm sure some well-intentioned people would think that. And yeah, you have to be careful the way you design the law. But if you're raising wages on the one hand, that's increasing the ability of people to pay off their loans. It's also energizing the economy, which we need. We have over 6% unemployment today. So anything you can do in that direction will have broader, ripple effects or multiplier effects. People who are worried about the blow to the deficit, well, you could do things like you could limit the $50,000 loan forgiveness to people to people below a certain, high income level, 200,000, whatever. So that would be one way in which giving that to millionaires. You really want to forgive the loans of people who've been incredibly lucky and made millions. So there's room there for debate and compromise, I think. But certainly a big plan like the Warren plan, I think, would make a lot of sense for individuals and for the broader economy.
And then one last thing that I wanted to address while I have you here today is that statistically, Black graduates are carrying a disproportionate amount of student loan debt compared to white graduates after graduating with a 4-year bachelor's degree. And some of the students at Hofstra that I spoke to said that that statistic did not surprise them. Would you be able to go a little bit into that from a economic professor standpoint as to why that is?
Oh, absolutely. It just follows directly from the fact that African Americans, although they've made lots of progress, certainly, still have far lower median income, median wages than do white or Asian Americans. Likewise, they have higher unemployment rates, about twice the white rate. So all of that translates into the children of African American workers, having a tougher job ahead of them because their parents simply, as much as they want to, they can't contribute as much as the average white family can. And so the students go into debt. And sadly, since certainly when I was in college, I wasn't from a well-off family, but I got lots of grants. So grants as well as work-study jobs got me through, a PhD program. But sadly, since 1980, the government at the federal and state level have slashed grants to students. So it's really unfair. I mean, we need well-educated workers, and we shouldn't be punishing them, especially African American and historically disadvantaged people. We shouldn't be punishing them with being stingy in terms of federal and state aid to education.
Well, thank you again, Professor, for your wonderful expertise and for taking some time to talk with me today.
Great talking with you. Take care.
Thank you.